Hello everybody and welcome! Take-Two has confirmed that they have sold off their private division publishing label to an undisclosed third party. That means that both Kerbal Space Program as well as the sequel Kerbal Space Program 2 are now under new ownership. Who is it? We don't know at the moment. What does that mean? We also don't know, but there are a few possibilities, so let's talk about those. First up, it just could be some private equity firm that thinks that with the assets that are still in private division, they could increase some profit and generate some shareholder value and then sell it off later for a profit. It could also be another publisher that sees some value in the intellectual property that is parked at private division and wants to generate some new games out of it or produce some DLC or whatever for the existing games and thus make a profit. This could be also the case. We just don't know at this moment. What we do know is that currently there is nobody, not a single developer working on Kerbal Space Program 2 or Kerbal Space Program for that matter. A quick recap for those of you who are not familiar yet. Kerbal Space Program was of course developed more than 10 years ago by Philippe Falang, also known as Harvester, under the auspices of his then company Squad, which was actually not a software developer or game developer but a marketing company. Go figure. However that may be, that game became a success and some years later Take-Two bought the rights to the Kerbals and the software, etc. Fast forward another few years to 2019 and they wanted to release Kerbal Space Program 2, the sequel to Kerbal Space Program. That didn't work out as planned, as you can see from the reactions to the early access in February 2023. And in the end, in 2024, the studio was shut down and everyone at Intercept Games, the studio developing Kerbal Space Program 2, was let go. However, back then, still in May 2024, CEO Strauss Zelnick from Take-Two never confirmed that they have closed the studio, despite we knew that the people were looking for jobs, we knew that there was no more development coming. So why did he not speak, let's say, truthfully to community members, shareholders, journalists, their own employees? I don't know. It seems that some kind of, let's say, dishonesty virus is rampant in corporate America. Ask me how I know. Now they finally confirmed that the studios were closed, not just Intercept Games but also another studio called Roll7. However, we don't know what's going to happen now that the Kerbal IP is out with the new owner. They could try to build up a new studio and continue Kerbal Space Program 2, but then they would have to really start from scratch because nobody from the old team is still working on anything. Some of them have transitioned to Kitten Space Agency, the new space game by Rocketworks that I have talked about in my latest video. And the other option could be that the new owner of the Kerbal IP could maybe get into conversations with Rocketworks to use Rocketworks as the studio developing it, and they, as the owners of the IP, would act as the publisher and do the marketing and get a big share of the profits, etc. Everything up in the air at the moment. The thing that worries me is that after all of you, based on your comments, became enthusiastic about Kitten Space Agency and it being finally a worthy spiritual successor to KSP, potentially, that there now might be some entity out there that could have the Kerbal IP, produce a completely different game and get into competition with a more, let's say, potentially technological, better and more performant game in Kitten Space Agency than what they could do if they just revived the KSP2 code. Rocketworks CEO Dean Hall said in conversations with community members that they didn't want to start working on KSA while KSP2 still existed because it would have been too much competition to go against the Kerbal IP. But now that the KSP was closed, they decided to start working on it. But since we now have the potential for KSP returning from the dead, this might change and might put the wrench into Kitten Space Agency's plans. The only thing that we really know for sure is that Private Division has been sold, there is a new owner, and that Take-Two is no longer in charge of the Kerbal Space Program intellectual property. So it means there is somebody else out there, somewhere, who owns the rights to Kerbals. And they might have the intention to capitalize on that. Maybe a new space game race between what Kitten Space Agency is going to be and what the other parties are going to do with Kerbal Space Program? We don't know. I'm going to try to stay on top of all of the information and deliver it to you as soon as I get it. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, please subscribe to this channel. And a big shout out to all of my people on Patreon and the YouTube members who are so loyal to the channel that they are willing to give money to what I do. Thank you so much for your support. If you're interested in that kind of thing, I put links in the description. And if you choose one of the higher tiers, your name will show up here, together with all of these other wonderful folks. Again, thank you so much for your support. So, what's going to happen with KSP, KSA, and whatever might come out of the space games? We shall see.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel for more and follow me on my social thingies. The links are in the description. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.